My name is Céleste Vé Dette, and I live in Detroit, and I am a burlesque performer. And I have a dance background as well as a design background, so I fuse those into my performances. I was actually born in California, grew up in the suburbs of Michigan, and then moved to Detroit 13 years ago, I think. So I've been around. So my dance background started when I was 4. And I primarily studied ballet. I was pretty serious about it, but also knew I didn't really want to pursue it professionally, at least in a traditional sense, because it's like a really cutthroat business, and didn't really like the bodily expectations placed on people. So I never pursued it in college or anything like that. I went away to school for design. And kind of put my dance on the background during that time. But here and there, I would get into like swing dancing and like vintage culture and history and stuff like that. So I started dancing in that style and also dabbled in some tango and some other fun like ballroom style dancing as well. And then eventually, through being in the pinup culture, I came across burlesque as the art form and thought, hey, like I could finally dance on my terms and also take my design background and use my creativity to like create this version of myself that's like my ultimate self, I'd say. So, yeah. Okay, so I first started going to the Dirty Show a couple years before I started performing there. I had done some nude modeling here and there before I even got into burlesque. So I've always been open to like the erotic arts. So I started going with friends and then eventually applied and got accepted to perform. So this will be my 3rd year performing. And yeah, I've also been in the print shop and I've hung on the gallery walls a couple times too. So I've been involved in that way as well. Well, it definitely takes a lot of confidence. I spent a lot of time rehearsing. Like I started rehearsing last month. Yeah, I would say like even longer than that if you're doing like a new act, which I'm not. I'm going to do the act that I performed last year because I guess they really liked that, so that's good. But yeah, you have to apply like the year prior. So I applied back in November, December of 2023, and then waited to hear from them, and then learned that I was accepted, and then started kind of preparing already, and then like jumping into rehearsals in January. They like really high energy acts that have some sort of like erotic notions to them. And I knew that it had to be like erotic in some nature the first year I applied, but I didn't give them what they wanted. It was too slow of a burn, as they call it. The act was too slow paced. So I was actually rejected my first year I applied and then kept trying. So, and the second year I applied, I did get accepted because I luckily got some really helpful feedback from the Dirty Show crew about my previous year's submission. So they're willing to like work with you and give you feedback if you, want to still apply like in future. So, which I think is really great. If you are looking for a unique night out in Detroit and want to do some really amazing people watching and take a look at some styles of art that you normally wouldn't see hanging in a gallery around town, and you want to go check out some burlesque and shibari and pole dancing, then that's the right place for you. One challenge is that you have to be very budget conscious when pursuing burlesque because it can be a very expensive art form. I don't have like any particular stories about that. because I try and scrimp and save and make it work, with what I've got. But I would say an unexpected challenge I had was dealing with some of the politics in the burlesque community, and also having to really work on my anti-racism. I've been, politely called in, like in the past, because I made a bad choice and decided I unknowingly was working in an all-white cast, which is not cool. Quit that show. So that was something you'd never expect you'd encounter, but it's something that you have to be very mindful of, especially in Detroit, which is a very black city. So I've grown in that way. And that's not something I expected with burlesque, but I think it's made me a better person. That was with a producer for a lesbians event in Royal Oak, and that was a couple years ago. And yeah, everyone that was going to perform or asked to perform ended up quitting because the producer was very rude to a very important person in Detroit burlesque community. So I would say one of the most important things that people should know about burlesque is that everyone should feel welcome to be able to perform on that stage. It's supposed to be a safe space for the performers and the audience members, so remember to respect each other. And also, if you're at a show and you don't see a diverse lineup in terms of race, age, body type, I encourage you to have a conversation with that venue, that producer who puts on that show, and challenge them to do better. Because the burlesque community has grown in that way, especially over the last couple of years, but I would say overall, and this isn't just locally, this is nationally, we still have to do better at better representation of, diversity as a whole. My Instagram is Céleste, that's Celeste, Vedette, Veddette, and that's my handle for all my socials. Yeah, and you can Google me, Céleste Vé Dette, and I'll pop up. I got a website, celestevedette.com.